Something I've decided I want to start doing on this channel is a monthly rundown of what I read in the previous month. I talk about writing so much, and I talk about books so much that I thought I should start talking about the books that I actually read. And this is also because of a comment I got suggesting that I do what I read this month, and I've decided I may as well just make that a regular series depending on how well this one goes. This month though, I'm going to do something a bit different. Even though this is the first of the series, I'm possibly the only one, but regardless, I'm doing something a bit different. This month, I started reading back issues of PC Gamer. I went down my local charity shop, and there's so much good shit that people decide they don't want anymore. They just had this basket on the floor that was full of old PC Gamer magazines. And I still haven't even read most of them. This month I read 3 of them, and even though that's not the only reading I did this month, I decided to make that the theme of this video, to talk about my old PC Gamer issues that I've been reading. These are all from the year 2000. Yes, 2000. And I wanted to start with this one. This is from April. The main cover feature is Force Commander, the real-time strategy Star Wars game. I start with this one because I haven't actually played any of the games that are covered in this. This is the only issue of the 3 where I haven't actually read anything, where I haven't actually played any of the games that it covers. But I still love reading old issues of magazines about things that I'm interested in anyway. I wasn't a PC gamer until much later in my life. At this time, I was still on console. So, if that charity shop wants to take someone's old issues of PlayStation magazine that they don't want anymore, I'd love to have them, frankly. I can remember. I am just old enough to remember when magazines were the way to get the latest updates and reviews of things. I mean, I love how convenient the internet has made everything, but magazines were special in a way that the internet just isn't. Like, I remember growing up, whenever you went into someone's bedroom, there would always be some sort of magazine on the floor or on their bed or something, and it will tell you something about them as a person. And like in now that decade, the 2000s, is now old enough to be considered a period piece by some films being made by people who grew up in that decade, I think that's a really interesting way that they've started to do set design, where, okay, what kind of magazines were being published at that time that they might have read? Let's sort of have a few of those issues just lying around. You wouldn't be able to do that for a film set today, because everything about a person's identity you'd have to find out by seeing what sort of apps they have on their phone and what websites they browse most often. And it just, nothing is real anymore. And I just love the sound that magazines make when you flick through them. Where's the microphone? What side is it on? Is it on this side? Like, I don't get ASMR, but like for me, this is kind of like ASMR. I love that. Just the sort of fact that they're slightly bent as well, and that they all sort of make that noise, and they've got that kind of tangible feedback. I really love it. So this one is about Force Commander, which I've never played. I haven't played any of the games in this issue. But my answer when someone asks me, have you played that, is no, but if I were able to live long enough, eventually I would. My aim is to play as many games as I can during my life without rushing through them, so that I can enjoy them and make it worth playing. But that's always my answer. Given enough time on this planet and enough money, yes, sooner or later. The next issue is from January, the first issue of the new millennium. The game of the millennium is here, and PC Gamer has the first review of Quake 3 Arena. Now, I haven't played Quake 3 Arena. I haven't played any of the Quake games. I do have the first Quake. I think it's the remaster in my Steam library. That one, I am planning to play that within the next 12 months for a certain reason. I may be making a video within that next 12 months about certain games. I don't know if Quake is going to end up being one of them, but I won't know that until I play it. So we'll have to wait and see. There is a game in this that I have played. I believe it's it's on page 80. Listen to that. I love that noise. I love that noise. Which is Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. Now, I played this because someone who I was friends with at the time, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine is their favourite video game. This one, they decided to review at the same time as a review of Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation, and to compare how they do various different aspects of the adventure puzzle platformer game. Given that Lara Croft was essentially inspired by Indiana Jones, and then after that, later on, we also got Nathan Drake, who was kind of like the third one in that line. But that was years later. I think Uncharted Drake's Deception was 2007, because was it a PlayStation 3 launch title? And that launched in 2007 in Europe, I think. I don't know. I have to say, though, the thing about Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine is I really love the level design. That's it, actually. I just... Because, like, there's... I think it's possibly level 2? Because after you have the tutorial in the canyons, level 2 is the tomb. And as I went through that level, I kept thinking, oh, this is like the core of the tomb. This is like the center of it, where the thing is. Turns out it's not. And it keeps going. And I had that several times, just on and on, thinking, surely I'm at the center of the tomb now. But I wasn't. And it was... The thing is, as you fail that level and you replay it over and over, being able to progress quicker and quicker, only then do you really see just how intricately constructed the whole thing is. That game has the design and the architecture of a Swiss watch or something. When you really take the cover off and you look at each individual wheel and things, it's just so fine-tuned. I think it has one of the best level design I've ever played. Like Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, that has excellent level design. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine also has excellent level design. And Portal 2. I think they're like the big three in terms of level design that I've played. Portal 2, Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, and Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. But I didn't really like anything else about the game because it was very specific. That sort of fine-tuned nature of the game meant that everything about it was so specific that sometimes I could figure out how to do something only a long time after first trying to do the same thing. Like, there was one part where it's in the level with the river, and I kept trying to figure out, okay, I have the raft. I collected that. How do I launch it? And I stood at the end of the jetty, and pressing the launch button and things, and it turns out I actually needed to be standing slightly more to either the left or the right, or slightly further forwards it doesn't have that dynamism where you can just stand within the general vicinity where you need to be and it will do it. And I don't think it's because of the time it was made. I just think it's because it was all very specific. Like, I don't really know how games are made, but as far as I understand it, like whenever there's an action button that does a certain thing that only happens when you're in a certain place, there's like a sort of range, there's like a sort of circle of this will only work when you're standing within this invisible circle. They didn't make the invisible circle big enough. In fact, they made it so small that you have to be stood on two like actual specific like sort of I'm not really sure where I'm going with this sentence. It's kind of like during social distancing where we had those like diagrams on the floor that were like actual like sort of footprints, like saying stand here. That's what it's like with this game. You have to be standing right on that exact spot, and it bugged me that I spent ages trying to figure out how to do it, and I was doing the right thing. I just wasn't standing in exactly the right spot, and that really got to me. And also the fact that when I was doing the river level, the game ended up just glitching out on me. Like I ended up sort of on the raft drifting into a rock in the middle of the river, and maybe the angle was wrong, but the whole game just stopped working. And I remember like mashing the keyboard, but nothing was happening. The controls seemed to completely freeze up, and I because I record all the gameplay that I play, I sent it to I sent a clip of that to somebody, and they told me, yeah, looks like it's just a bit of a glitchy game. Or possibly, because this was never brought up by the friend I had whose favourite game it was. Maybe it was something to do with the fact that it was the Steam re-release. Had they just taken the original game and just posted it on Steam, and somehow because of the way that it works on modern systems, a few things were no longer functioning correctly, or had they actually tried to alter it for a modern system, but they would have been programmers who weren't working on the game originally, so they didn't really understand the intricacies of it, and it ended up not working. I think that's it. Because as far as I know, the friend I had whose favourite game it was didn't play it on Steam because they had grown up playing it and they just had an old copy of it on disc that they played on their own PC that way. I never actually found out whether or not they played it on Steam, but they never mentioned any of this stuff at the time. So I've only just realised it might be something to do with the fact that it was released on Steam for modern systems. That might be why it was so sort of glitchy. Because I can't imagine he wouldn't have mentioned that. Because he knew the game inside out. Okay. Before I move on to my next and final issue, I'm just going to take a little drink. Bruges. Oh, right. Now this final issue, this is a really good one. This is Christmas 2000. And I don't know whether that means December or whether or not there already was one in December and they decided to post this for Christmas. I would assume so. Because I believe PC Gamer is 13 issues per year. Because it's every 4 weeks specifically rather than every month. And there are actually 13 sets of 14. There are 13 sets of 4 weeks in a year, because a year is actually 14 months long. A year is actually 14 months long. No, or is it 13? A year is 13 months long. Because like a week is 7 days, so like 4 weeks is 28 days. So if you took all the 29th, 30th and 31st days from each month, there would actually be 28 extra days that you could use to make a 13th month. Dave Gorman did a routine on this. It's actually really fascinating that a week is actually, that a year is actually 13 months long. That's why there were 13 issues of a magazine that's published every 4 weeks. You'd think there were only 12, because people think, oh, every 4 weeks, that means it's monthly. No, it's every 4 weeks, not monthly. It's every 4 weeks, which means there were 13 issues. It would only be 12 if it were monthly, but it's every 4 weeks, so it's 13 issues, because a year is actually 13 months long. I am not a crackpot. Right. Okay, so this one, the main cover issue is, I just want to check, Planetside, which is cool. I never actually played Planetside, but I remember when I was in college studying creative media production, the easiest fucking thing I've ever done. We had lots of posters in there, in the like media department. We were essentially like just a class held in the back rooms that we managed to turn into a classroom. Absolutely nobody came down our way because we were like way out, like as far away from the main entrance as you could get, and nobody came down our way. It was like a disused airport corridor, so we just had a bunch of posters to make the place look more lively. And I remember a lot of those posters. There was Finding Nemo, there was 21 and Over, there was A Walk Among the Tombstones, and there was also a poster for Planetside 2. And I remember thinking, Planetside 2? Because I hadn't heard of Planetside, because I was still a console gamer. Unless Planetside was on consoles, but I was never aware of it if it was. And so we had a poster for Planetside 2. That's how I first became aware of the Planetside games. And now, here's their review of the original Planetside from Christmas 2000. But that's not the reason I wanted to read this issue. The reason I wanted to read this issue is for the secondary cover feature, which is Colin McRae Rally 2, which is awesome. Possibly the best rally game I've ever played. Although then again, I haven't played Richard Burns Rally or Dirt Rally, but I will, given enough time. Let's see here. So let's see, where's the review of Colin McRae Rally 2? Hang on a second. Does this have a contents page? Yes, it does, but like on the inside cover, they've got a sort of cardboard thing that makes it difficult to just flick through the first few pages. Okay, Colin McRae Rally 2. Oh, that's also page 80. This is interesting. I think the other one was page 80, unless I'm just misremembering. Page 80. Colin McRae Rally 2. There it is. There it is. Man, just look at these screenshots. I grew up playing this. I played the original, and I've also played 3 and 4. I didn't play 2005 though. And then it eventually became Dirt Rally, which then spun off into Dirt. But man, I really love this. I mean, just like, this is, because the first Colin McRae Rally game was when he was still driving for Subaru. By the time this came out, he was driving for Ford, which is why it has the Ford Focus, not the Subaru. Although the Subaru Impreza is in it, but it has a different livery, and I would assume it's because they couldn't use the original livery. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. And I also remember that the Ford Focus has different liveries as well, because there's the there's like the Ford team livery, but there's also the Martini Racing livery as well, which has like more red around the back. I'm not entirely. I never managed to unlock everything in the game, unfortunately. But I am going to get back to playing it maybe over the next 12 months or so, for certain reasons. For that video about certain games I might make, if I make it, and if that's one of the games that makes it into the thing. So, yeah, I think I just about wrapped it up. There are a lot more issues of PC Gamer that I managed to pick up from the charity shop that I haven't read yet, because I don't have to rush through them, you know? Like, these aren't novels. These are, like, a novel is where, like, I feel like I have to keep up with it. I have to keep up with it. I have to make sure that I keep reading it so that I can retain all of the information that it's giving me. Whereas a magazine, they're designed to just be a lot more leisurely, and I know that like books are also meant to be leisurely, but this is something that I can sort of pick up for 5 minutes, just sort of flick through, see where I got to, just read one article or so, and then put it down again, just when I have like a spare 10 or 15 minutes. Oh yes, I remember. Is this the issue? I'll just have to have a look. Because I know that one of these issues has one thing in it that I remember quite distinctly, and then another thing I also remember quite distinctly. I don't. And also, I think there might be an issue that I'm currently reading but haven't finished yet, or not. Or if I haven't started reading one since I finished these. Because the really interesting thing about this is not just being able to sort of catch up on contemporary coverage of games that I grew up playing, but also to discover other more niche games that aren't as well remembered anymore. That would have disappeared. Oh, there he is. There he is. Guybrush Threepwood from Monkey Island. Possibly the best looking video game protagonist of all time. And that includes Cloud Strife. And it includes Squall Leonhardt. And it includes Leon S. Kennedy. I've never played the Monkey Island games, but I may have to, just for Guybrush Threepwood. He's got his little sailor suit and everything. Anyway, I ought to wrap this up before I get creepy. So I am going to read more of these, more issues that I picked up. I haven't even read the majority of them. And I don't know whether or not I'll make a video about those other issues, because I do want to cover like things that I am also reading at the same time as these, or whether I'll just throw them in there as well with my video for what I read in September. I'll think about it. So those were 3 old back issues of PC Gamer. I really love collecting magazines, and I think it's really important to preserve them. And it just takes me back to a time when things were a lot cooler. I didn't think it would only take me this long to start resenting the modern world for not being as good as the decade that I grew up in, but apparently it starts happening before you're even 30. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the beginning of October to talk about what I read in September.